DNA extraction procedure using the MagnaPure24. Loading the machine. First, we're going to turn on the machine from the bottom of the right side panel. Make sure the glass lid is fully closed so that the machine can initialize. Then, we're going to log in by clicking on the key icon that's on the top left of the screen. The username is supervisor and the password is 123456. Then click enter or login. On the routine screen, we're going to click run and then purification rack. On the global run settings, leave the name as it is and leave the reagent cassette as it is as well. For the sample type, whole blood. For the sample volume, 500, and for the protocol, HGDNA 1000 3.1. For the eluate volume, 100. For the tube type, 13 by 75 millimeters. And for the internal control, leave it as it is. Take some time to review all the settings before moving on. Now let's open up the glass lid to start loading the machine. But first, make sure the samples are very well mixed by inverting them 10 to 15 times. This is the sample rack. Pull it out so we can start loading our samples. Start by taking the cap off of your sample and immediately dispose of it in the yellow biohazard bins. We're going to start loading from the right to the left. Make sure that the barcode of the sample is fully and clearly visible from top to bottom. Go ahead and do the same for all your samples. Once you are done, take your sample rack and slide it inside the tracks of the machine all the way in until you hear a click, all in one continuous motion. Now go back to the screen and click on Sample Details. From this page, we can go ahead and choose the tube type for each sample. However, we're only going to be sticking to two options. Our usual lavender top tube, which is 13 by 75, and our longer lavender top and yellow top tubes, which are 13 by 100, same as our reference laboratory samples. Then you can go ahead and click Overview. Now on this screen, take some time to double check your accession numbers. Then go ahead and click Confirm Order. And now we can start loading our machines with the consumable items. First, let's start by placing our yellow liquid waste discard bin in its appropriate position, making sure that the indentation is to the right side. For every 8 samples, you're going to need to fill up one of the 3 reagent stations that are on the top left of the machine's deck. Next, we have our processing cartridge. Let's place it in the machine, making sure that the barcode is facing the left side of the machine. And since I'm only doing 16 samples this run, I'm only going to be using 2 processing cartridges instead of 3 if I'm doing 24 samples. Next item is the processing tip park. It will go on the right side of the processing cartridge. The orientation of this does not matter, it will fit either way. Now we have our piercing tools. Every run will require 2 piercing tools regardless of how many samples you are extracting. The piercing tools should be placed in the 2 holes that are on the right side of the black tip park, just like this picture here. Then we have our 1000 microliter tips. Now let's place the rack with the barcode facing the left side. This is what the tips look like, not to be confused with the NGS tips. Now, every run, you're going to be needing one full rack of 1000 microliter tips, and you're going to leave the second rack exactly as it is from last run, because the machine will know how many tips are left. Next, we have our reagent cassette. We're going to be placing it in one of the two spaces that are on the bottom right of the machine's deck. It doesn't matter where you place it as long as the barcode is facing the left side of the machine. Now let's go ahead and click on the output type and choose 2.0 ml. These are the 2 ml tubes that come with the kit. Now I will stick my label on top of the original tube's label with an overlap of approximately 90%. Make sure that the original barcode of the tube is no longer visible and the new label's barcode is horizontal and visible fully from the top to the bottom. This is all to ensure that the label will stick on the tube for the longest time possible and that we are able to scan the tubes whenever we need to. We also need to be able to see the DNA so that we can monitor things like volume, color, and be able to pipette without touching the beads at the bottom of the tube. And when you are receiving your samples and writing the storage location, leave some exposed barcode from beginning to end so that it can be read by the machines. Now, I will start placing my vials starting at the top left A1 position. And then we're going to go to B1, then go down to C1, D1, so on and so forth. And repeat the same process for the second and third set of vials. Once you're done, we're going to start scanning our vials in the same order that we did. A1, B1, C1, D1, so on and so forth until you finish the first set of 8 vials, and then you move on to the second and third sets of 8 vials. If the barcode scanner is unable to read the barcode, what you can do is click on the blank space next to the position, then click the keyboard icon at the top right of the screen, and then enter your accession number manually. This will usually happen because of 2 reasons. 1, the barcode is not clearly or fully visible, or 2, if the barcode has been read before. The machine will not accept repeat barcodes, meaning that if you were to re-extract a sample, you would have to enter the accession number manually, and you can also add RE at the end of it, indicating that this is a re-extracted sample. Once you're done scanning all your samples, go ahead and click Assign, then Confirm. And the last thing we have is our magnetic glass particles or magnetic glass beads. First, warm up the vials in your hand for at least 1 minute, or if the room is exceptionally cold that day, you can place the vials in the dry heat block for 5 to 10 minutes while you're setting up the rest of your procedure. Let's go ahead and vortex it for at least 1 minute on the highest speed while it's upside down, to ensure that there are no beads stuck at the bottom of the vial. You also have to make sure after you're done vortexing that the liquid inside the vials is opaque and uniform in color. Pull out your reagent rack and start placing your vials starting from the left side, making sure that the barcode is clearly visible from top to bottom. This has to be the very last step you do in your procedure to make sure that the beads don't have time to settle at the bottom of the vials. Now pick up the reagent rack and insert it into its tracks the same way we did with the sample rack. You will notice that the vial positions on the screen have turned green. Now, let's go ahead and close the machine all the way down. And then click on Check Supplies. And now the machine is going to read the barcodes of all the supplies and make sure everything is there. Except one very small thing. The machine is not able to read the tip park, and so if you do not have a tip park inside the machine, it will not notify you. However, if there is anything else missing, like the samples, reagents, or other consumables, or a tip rack, it will notify you. Since I've opened the lid, I need to go ahead and click Check Supplies again, and it will read the barcodes again. Before we start, let's go ahead and double check everything. We have our samples and then our reagents. Then we have our processing cartridges with the tip park and the yellow liquid waste bin underneath them. Then we have our piercing tools, our 1000 microliter tips, our tip waste rack, the output tubes, and finally our reagent cassette. Make sure your machine looks like this picture. Now go ahead and click start, and on the next screen it will show you how much time is needed and what step the machine is on. Unloading the machine. First, click on the lock icon at the top left of the screen and enter the password 123456. Go ahead and click unloading the instrument. First, open up the glass cover and start by unloading your samples. These are the caps that come with the kit. Cover all your samples, and then you can go ahead and write the accession numbers on top of the caps. Do not write the accession numbers before you cap the samples. Now go ahead and click confirm. Now you can unload your reagent cassette. If you're doing 24 samples, you can immediately dispose of the reagent cassette because it will be empty. You only need to cover it in case you're not using it fully for samples. Go ahead and click confirm. Now you can pull out your reagent rack so you can dispose of your magnetic glass beads. These cannot be reused, so whenever you use them you have to dispose of them and open a new vial for the next run. Now take out your sample rack and start unloading your sample. You'll notice every time you unload something it will show as blank on the screen. Cover your samples. Make sure they're covered very securely. Now go ahead and remove your reagent cartridge and your tip park. And do the same for the other stations. Go ahead and dispose of the used tips, but do not throw away the rack. You can reuse it again. And if you do throw away the rack, you can just replace it from one of the empty tip racks. Now grab a beaker and 2 biohazard bags so we can dispose of our liquid waste. Place the yellow bins inside a sharp container so you can move them safely. Now go ahead and zip each bag by itself, and then you can dispose of the whole thing in the yellow biohazard bin. Now go ahead and click on confirm unloading. Click on the right arrow in front of your run and take some time to review all the accession numbers of the samples scanned against all of the accession numbers of the vials that you scanned by yourself. Make sure they all match up and everything is fine. Once you're done, you can go ahead and turn off the machine by clicking on the power button at the top right of the screen. It will switch everything off. And last thing is cleaning the liquid waste yellow bins. Start by rinsing them out with the cleaning solution and some water. Then go ahead and fill the bucket up with 10% bleach. Then you're just gonna let it soak for 10 minutes. Next thing is you're gonna rinse out the bleach and you're gonna do the same thing again with 80% ethanol. Fill the bucket up and then let it soak for 10 minutes. Once all the soaking is done, you can go ahead and rinse everything and let it air dry until your next run. And lastly, we will just go over the weekly machine cleaning. You're going to be using napkins and our spray cleaning. Avoid using the alcohol swabs because they might fall inside the machine. You can go ahead and watch the video and just repeat everything I'm doing. You're going to be cleaning the deck. You're going to be cleaning underneath the reagent rack and the sample rack. You will clear your black tip park and the used tips holder. And now you're done.